Guys, it's So MMA back with another video. I was gonna do the Allen versus Curtis reaction video, but the card wasn't that exciting. It was another Apex card. My picks did decent, um, but I just feel like we need to have a conversation today instead about what needs to change to hold officials accountable, why it's never going to change, and why that sucks so bad. And I'm not just talking about refs in this video, I'm also talking about judges. But I think I'm going to focus largely on refs here. I want to start by talking about that Bruno Silva versus Chris Weidman fight. Because, really, throughout that Atlantic City card, you had really poor referee officiating. All throughout, you had no calls on fouls. You had no points taken away for fouls as well. You had people getting finished after getting fouled twice on the main card that happened. And in the instance of the Chris Weidman one, it really just goes to show how flawed the system can be at times, because any sensible commission or individual, anything, trying to come to a decision about how that Chris Weidman versus Bruno Silva fight should have ended would have either decided no contest, or they would have decided to go with a disqualification for Chris Weidman. And there's an argument to be made that the technical decision is the right way to go because of how far they had gone into the fight. But really, the thing is that if that is the way that the rules are set up, that's what we're supposed to do, then the rules should be changed. Because if Bruno Silva is just robbed of those last 2.5 minutes of the fight and it gets sent to the scorecards, I'm not saying Bruno Silva was going to knock out Chris Weidman. That's the only chance he had of winning, right? If Chris Weidman can just take away all of Bruno Silva's chance of winning that fight by winning the first 2 rounds, feeling confident he had won those 2 rounds, and then just eye-poking the shit out of him as soon as he can in round 1, and as round 3 rather, then the referee's not going to do anything to punish him. The commission's not going to do anything to punish him. It's going to go to a technical decision. He's going to win it unanimously on all 3 judges' scorecards. Why shouldn't everybody do that? Like, why don't you just bank up your 2 rounds, and instead of fighting that 3rd round, letting that guy have a chance to surge and go for you, just foul the shit out of him so bad he's not able to continue and win a technical decision? Why wouldn't you? There's nothing disincentivizing you from doing that. And that's the problem when stuff like that happens, more than anything else. And there's certain things where the rule I'm about to talk about doesn't apply, and unfortunately one of them does have to be eye pokes. Because if you guys have ever trained with MMA gloves on, then you know that they do flare your fingers out, so you can do your best to avoid eye pokes, but there will be some unintentional ones. And they'll factor into the rule I'm about to say here differently, and it'll make sense when I explain it. But I feel like for a lot of fouls, there should be a point taken no matter what, the first time without warning, because it doesn't matter if you did it intentionally or not for almost all of them. Like I said, with eye pokes, it's different because there's plenty of reasons that you would have to reach your hand out with your fist not closed in an MMA contest. And some of those could result in you poking your opponent in the eye if they do something that you weren't expecting them to. So you can't avoid every single eye poke, and I don't think people should be penalized points immediately for that. But I think we should be a lot more liberal with taking points away from fighters. I think referees need to get involved in fights and actually start doing their jobs in these fights. Because where we're at right now, they're frankly not a lot of the time. In Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman 3, there was so much cheating in that fight. It was ridiculous to watch. You had tons of nut kicks. You had fence grabs, and a point was taken once for one of those fence grabs from Leon Edwards. But while I understand and have sparred, so I know that when you're getting taken down, you grab for stuff instinctively, and it's difficult to train that instinct away. I do actually have a super pro tip to help train fighters away from the instinct of illegally grabbing the cage. And it's to take a point away from them every single time they do it. Because what better way to make them not do it than make them lose fights for doing it? Because then you'll either, one, lose a fight for grabbing a fence and be like, well, fuck, I better not fucking do that ever again. You might even focus it in training, not grabbing a fence, so that you don't fucking do it in a fight. And then two, you will also see other people lose fights for that, lose close decisions because they decided to grab the fence or they accidentally grab the fence too and realize, shit, I really have to make sure I don't fucking do that. And that's what you'll have across the board if you actually enforce fouls and make it to where, regardless of whether or not it's intentional or not, as long as there is not significant uh, opponent factoring in there. So they move into you and then you land a thigh kick as a kick to the nuts, for example. Not really your fault. Eye poke, where they start blitzing you while you were hand fighting. Not necessarily your fault either, right? But if you land a knee to the head of a clearly downed opponent, even if the fight continues, take a point away. If you grab the fence, even if you don't stop a takedown attempt or anything like that, if you are in the clinch, reach out, grab the fence, and do grab the fence there. Referee should stop the action, take you to the center of the octagon, take a point, and restore the position too. Because I don't care about this. It's unfair to take the point and give them back the position. No, it's not, motherfucker. It's unfair to break the rules. So you can break the rules, get your point taken, and the guy who got you in a shitty position against the cage can keep you in a shitty position against the cage until you break from that legally, because they don't deserve to be punished for you breaking the rules. It shouldn't be a free break from the fence, especially not on a hard warning. Hey, don't grab the fence again. That's a hard warning. And then they don't get the position back. It's ridiculous. And I've seen that happen. I can't remember what fight it was, but I've seen that happen before. It's absurd. If you're gonna not take a point, then they get the position back 100%. But you should be taking the point and keeping the position, because there's no reason that somebody who grappled to an offensively advantageous position and then had someone cheat against them should have the position taken from them because the other guy cheated. What? Like, that doesn't make any sense at the end of the day. And all of it doesn't make sense because these referees aren't doing their jobs. And you can get into, like, the weeds on more specific details, like the Mark Goddard with Cedric Doumbé thing, where there was literal shards of shit in the PFL octagon because they run a fucking clown show promotion, and he stopped the fight and declared it a loss for Cedric Doumbé because he's a fucking moron and can't think rationally for a second before he does anything. Or you could look to, who was it? Kerry Hatley, who let Jalen Turner beat the absolute shit out of Bobby Green just sitting there. Let him beat the shit out of him. Why do I bring up those examples, and how do those tie into these larger things of rule enforcements and stuff like that that kind of transcend refs a lot of the time? It's because there's no means of accountability. They're never asked questions. There's never a press conference where a ref is there to answer questions or a judge is there to talk about how he scored Cheeto versus Sandhagen for Cheeto. There's never any accountability, ever, in this sport for any of these people. And we probably never will get any, because they're either safeguarded by the commissions, who don't want these individuals in front of the press, or they're safeguarded by the UFC, who also doesn't want these individuals in front of the press, because the UFC just loves to control the press and make them say whatever the fuck they want, which is why all of the press are honestly on the brink of being brain dead at these UFC events. They ask questions like, "How's it been in Miami? You you like the weather here in Miami?" And no questions about the matchups. They aren't even trying to get the fighters to engage with each other. It's at times like super self-focused and really strange, and most of the time just completely inane and a waste of time. And it's tragic to see, because those are the individuals who we would need to have any sort of accountability. Because if we were to have any press conference or event where a judge, say Sal Diamato, Mike Bell, they have to go out there and explain their scorecards, these would be the guys asking them questions. And so we wouldn't get anything like that. And anybody who did ask a good question would be promptly banned as soon as they could, too. So it sucks, but I really do think that if we call for it more as a community, we might get slight progress towards better solutions. And you see really terrible examples get weeded out, which does give me more hope as well that we could get something done as a community if we really band together. But just seeing Chris Weidman double eye poke finish Bruno Silva and have that be a loss on Bruno Silva's record really rubs me the wrong way, especially knowing he's going to appeal it and knowing damn well that appeal isn't going to do shit either. So, really tragic situation here for sure. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are down below. Let me know what you guys think about this situation in the comments. Make sure and like the video if you liked. Subscribe for more. Peace out.